Well, let's get started. What's up, family? Welcome to episode 5, right? Episode 5. Let me talk to you, son. And I'm here with my two brothers. Man, such an honor to be here with you fellas, man. I got my man Drew Claiborne and my brother Rick Davis over here.
All right, all
I
right.
don't know if I call it Pastor Rick or Slick Rick. He pulled the shades out on me today. And Drew always fresh to death.
Always.
Fresh to life, you know what I'm saying? So
Appreciate it, bro.
like we always do, we're going to jump right on into it. Today, these young men got extraordinary stories. And we're going to dive right into it. So Drew and Rick, please tell us a little bit about yourself. Whoever wants to go first, it doesn't matter.
I'll go first.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, man, I'm born in Youngstown, Ohio. Raised in Columbus to Hilltop. Shout out to Hill. And big family, man. Grew up. My mom's kids. It was 5 of us. My big sister, myself, my little sister, and then my 2 younger brothers. And now I'm a husband and I'm a father and a principal. And I used to coach. I just stopped coaching football last year. Just active in the community, man. Serving, love to serve people.
That's what's up.
Minister the gospel. Those things.
Okay, minister
Simple
of gospel. See, look at it, the humility. So you've been coaching for how many years?
I think when I got done last year, I think that was like my 14th or 15th year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, such
Coaching
a
young
blessing
people,
to
man.
the community.
Just always been one to just always loved investing in young people.
Always. I appreciate you, man. And what
Yes,
about
sir.
you, my man, Drew?
Man, born and having raised in Southfield, Columbus, Ohio.
Southside.
Man, I'm a son, a father, CEO, ordained minister.
See?
Just more importantly, I'm Andrew Claiborne.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
And born with, had 3 brothers,
Yes, sir.
and fortunately lost one.
Yes, sir.
But just been here, doing what I was created to do, and that's speaking life to people, whatever platform that I can do that on. I enjoy being able to edify, God's people, being able to pour in truth, because we lack a lot of it.
Man.
And so anytime that I get an opportunity to speak life, that's what I do. I'm a founder of the Son Foundation.
Yes, sir.
Nonprofit organization surrounding mental health. Really just pointing people back to God and purpose.
Man.
Helping them to understand the value of who we are as His sons on this earth. So anytime that I can talk about it,
Come on, man.
I'm gonna talk about
Come
it.
on. That's why I'm so glad that y'all here today. Cause I'm sorry, I'm trying to contain myself, but it's just great to have 2 great men, I can call my brothers and my friends and lean on. And anytime, like you said, of mental health challenges, just emotional challenges, because we're going to be faced with them regardless of who we are, what race, what age, you're going to be faced with challenges in life. So it's good to have good men, good brothers, good family, good structure, good support around you that's going to help, you know what I'm saying? So let's dive right into this, man. You mentioned, you lost your brother, and that's why I got both of you guys on here. That's what, unfortunately, that's one of the things that y'all have in common outside of being ministers and pillars in the community. You lost your brother to gun violence and murder, and you lost your brother to gun violence and murder.
I did.
We're going to kind of play tennis with that a little bit, and
Yeah.
because I'm going to dive right into it.
Okay.
I want to know, first of all, you don't have to get into details of what happened, so to speak. That's up to you guys, but kind of give us a short story in the sense of what happened and how that affected you that day, and what were you in that period of your life? You know what I'm saying? Were you a father at that time? Were you a principal at the time? Were you in school? Were you know what I mean? So just kind of, I don't want to, but that's why we're here. We
we can talk
want
about it.
Yeah,
you
we
know?
want the transparency. We want to know, because it's not only you two been through these situations. There's so many of us, unfortunately, that's been through been in that seat.
Absolutely.
So if you don't mind sharing, whoever, Drew, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. It was October 1st, going into the 2nd, 2020. I had just landed in Los Angeles. I was going out there to celebrate my birthday on October 6th. And I remember I landed, catching a shuttle, and the shuttle's taking me to the rental place to get a car. So on the way, I'm riding down Sepulveda, and I seen the In-N-Out Burger. Like, I'm gonna grab this rental, spin back around the block, grab me some In-N-Out before I head to the hotel. So I remember pulling up in the line, and I'm right there coming around after I just ordered, and I get a phone call from the homie Mark. He like, bro, man, call your brother. I'm like, what's up? He like, man, your brother been shot. He like, call him. I'm just like, man. So immediately I hang up with him, call Mom Deuce, like, Mom, we heard from Dre. I just got called that he got, that he got shot. So she, hang up, get on the phone, calling around. And I remember about 2 or 3 years prior, I had a dream that my brother had got shot. I mean, I could see the person's description to this day. And I remember waking up, calling Big Bro, like, man, you gotta chill. You know what I mean? I just had a dream. I'm talking about vivid. I had one of them dreams that is real. Like, bro, I just had a dream. Long story short, he ended up getting shot. Survived that. And he was just like, man,
So he
bro,
was shot prior to this?
He was shot prior to this. So he like,
goodness.
man, bro, everything you said was so real. He was like, man, who you said he looked just like, man, he looked just like him, X, Y, and Z,
Wow.
you know what I mean, to the T. So this time when I got the call, it was just different. I remember when I'm driving to the hotel, I remember consciously telling myself to eat because I had that feeling come over me that it was it. And I'm in there just stuffing my face as I'm driving, just trying to take my mind off of it. And at this point, I'm on the phone with my mom, and she's now gotten wind, and her and my dad done linked up, and they going around trying to find out, what's going on. And I remember being up in my hotel room after I checked in, still sitting there on the phone. I remember just that loud scream from my mom, like,
Jesus.
And, they had told him that, my brother passed away. And I probably didn't sleep for the next 48 hours. It was one of the most devastating feelings, one can ever feel. It's different from somebody who's dying and that it's a wrap. They got that time, their time is up. You have time to prepare, but when somebody is stripped from you so violently, it rips something from you. And my brother was my next door neighbor. He had just called me before I caught a flight, asked me what my daughter's shoe size. We seen each other every day. So this was somebody who I was extremely close to. We hadn't grown apart as we gotten older. We were still best friends.
That happens naturally. You grow apart of it.
Absolutely. We moved to one side of the town.
Right.
Really wasn't too many times and too many moments or too many months or years that went by that we wasn't around each other. So,
man, that's his brother was the same way. They were super close, just like y'all two. Man.
Yeah. So it was unfortunate, man. He had went to an after hour, and I remember him telling me about this place. And this is what was so messed up, but I remember him telling me about this place and him telling me, the eerie feeling that was in there. And the gentleman who ended up killing him, he had already kind of had a run-in with that up there at that place because it was a bikers club. And, it's just so unfortunate because when you in that lifestyle, even though you may know that this is not where you're supposed to be, but because you have done it so long, you just do it out of habit.
When you say that lifestyle,
You
can
know,
you be a little more?
he was in the streets.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
so that was part of, you know,
Right.
his
I mean, I
his
don't
high,
mean any
you know what I
dishonor or
mean?
anything like that, but I
it ain't.
wanted
We gonna talk about it all.
We have to
You know what I mean?
know that what's prevalent and a reality in our community in order to address these situations, man,
Absolutely.
head on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, but he was a father, you know, uncle. He
How
just
many children did he have?
He had three children.
Okay.
You know, he had just had his son, Andre II.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's just unfortunate because I just wish he went home that night.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I just wish he would have went home that night and not had to go to the after hour, not had to fulfill that desire of being out, you know, and about, you know, again, being part of that street life.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what he was. He loved dancing. He loved, you know, being in that environment. He didn't have to be with nobody. It could just be him with some music and he dancing. He enjoyed it, but because again of that street life, the places he chose to go, you know, were dark, and you can only be a light in that dark place for so long before it consume you. You know, and he was that. Everybody knew who my brother was. You know, it was an amazing spirit, but again, I just wish he would have went home that night.
Man, there's a few questions I want to ask you, just real quick before we jump over to your story, Rick. Where were you in that season of your life? Were you a father yourself? Were you in school? Were you active in the community?
I was, you know, doing what I do now in terms of speaking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, didn't have a foundation at the time. That was actually birthed after my brother's passing. That was what my mom called him. She called him Son, you know, and so that's where the Son Foundation
I
comes
call
from.
my son, son. I call my stepson, son. Yeah, so that really resonated with me when I seen your foundation.
That's what I call my son as well. My oldest
Yeah,
son.
right, man.
Yeah.
So it's man, it just gave me chills, man. That's a godsend for
Absolutely.
sure. It is.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, it happened that way, but it's a godsend.
Absolutely.
And so you were pretty much doing what you're doing now. That just kind of pushed and made it put the intentions even more.
For sure, because I felt like the world took something from me.
Man,
And now they about to get hell until the day I die. You know what I mean? Like,
I love that.
Like I'm pouring everything that I have inside of me out of me.
you gonna give them love to the day they die.
I definitely gonna get it. But
I know what you
it's just that saying,
I know what you're saying.
Know what I mean? But
like you coming with fire. You coming with
absolutely.
Man.
You know, they gonna get all this smoke.
And you know what? That's a you know, I told my wife, she her mother, who the woman who raised her as her mother, transitioned, and I said, what other way that you can honor a lost one, a loved one that you lost or transitioned, than to fulfill what they taught you? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, so if she taught her these good morals, why not walk in them
Absolutely.
and fulfill them? You know, I think that's a great way of honoring, to your point of, you know, like, you know what, I'm gonna honor my brother by hitting these situations and these circumstances in this epidemic.
Man, with a bunch of intentionality for
Man.
real.
And I appreciate you sharing that. I'm going to get more into asking you some more questions, but I want to jump over to Rick. And Rick, can you tell us a little bit about your story? Now, as I'm listening to your story, I know his story. I know some of your story, but y'all have a lot in common, man.
Yeah. He's even using some of the words that I would use to describe what happened. But May 5th, 2014, it was a Monday. I was, at the time, I was actually a substitute teacher. Well, no, I shouldn't say substitute. I was full-time. I got hired full-time. I was at Champion Middle School. And I got off of work. Just remember going home, laying down. My phone had died, though. Laying down on the couch. And I just saw my brother that Saturday night, man. We had a great conversation. He was about to finish Barber College.
This your little brother?
Yeah, my little brother, Rod. So
Drew,
that's your older
big
brother.
brother. Okay.
Rod is my little brother. And so I want to just real quick. You know, make sure I say his name is Roderick Lawrence Davis.
Yes, sir.
ROD. It's my brother.
Yes, sir.
And Rod, from jump, you know, when he was a little boy, I always wanted a little brother. I had an older sister, I had a little sister, but I didn't have that brother. When I finally got my brother, man, you couldn't tell me nothing. So
Yes.
As a teenager, it didn't matter. If I was going over a girl's house, I'm going to take him with me, and we're going to put him in front of the TV or something.
Right.
But he got to be with me. If I'm going to hang with my boys, my brother was always with me. You know, I just tried to be everything that I wanted as a big brother. So we were always close. And then when he became a teenager, going through those growing pains and those challenges with my mom, he actually lived with me. So his sophomore year, his junior year in high school, he lived with me. He was doing very, very well. And then my mom wanted him back. And I didn't agree with that, but she took him back. So fast forward to May 5th, 2014. I'm on the couch taking a nap. And my wife comes in and was like, you know, you need to call your mom. I know your battery's dead, but you need to call your mom. I think Rod got shot. And I was like, so I jumped up, and the scary part is that I remember jumping up. I remember running around the house, and I punched the wall, and I punched the wall so hard that it knocked the door off, the bathroom door off of the hinges, and it scared me when I came back because my hand didn't hurt. Later, it ended up being bruised, but I didn't. It was so much rage in that moment. I don't remember doing it, and I don't remember. I just remember screaming, "Where is he? Where is he?" And she said something about, you know, his children's mom's house. So I just flew over there. And when I went over there, it was quiet. It wasn't nobody there. It looked like anything had happened. So some guy answered the door. I said, like, "Where's my brother?" He's like, I don't know. I said, "Well, where's the mother?" He's like, "I don't know." So I'm like, well, maybe, I was like, you know, if I see him, it's my brother. If I see him, I'll get him. Like, whatever going on,
exactly. You're going to settle it.
I'll get it together.
Right.
I get to my mom's house, and when I get to my mom's house, my baby brother, Robert, he just kind of like shaking his head, and then I see my dad's car. And so I get out the car, run up like, "Man, where's my brother?" And they said, my brother said, "Man, you know, they killed him. And so I run in the house. Now, they've been at the scene already.
Jesus.
They knew. I'm still like, kind of like, this is like the confirmation. I'm still kind of like in that denial. And so the short end of it is a domestic dispute. He was having words with the mother of his children. She had some people, her friend who lived with her, and then the boyfriend and some friends were there. And it's these these stupid codes that we live by, where there's words spoken and the words escalate to, okay, they'll get physical then. And so my brother was a fighter. They had words that Sunday night, but then the next day, my brother, the kid's mom, and the kids are at a doctor's appointment. They leave the doctor's appointment. She thought he went to work. He ended up going back to the house because him and the guy knew each other somewhat. And the words kept going. And so he invited my brother to fight somebody that he thought could beat my brother. So it's three of them. And my brother ended up beating the guy up really bad. And then his rage, he's like, "You brought him, well, I'm gonna get you." So the guy pulls out a gun, and you know where we're from. You know, you pull a gun on me, you got to use it, and I'm gonna let you know that you don't intimidate me. You pull a gun, you have to use it. And he told him that, and you know, he smacked him, and then you know he shot my brother in the leg, and then shot him in the head, and killed him. My brother had two sons, ages 3 and age 1. And I just remember use the word devastate, and that's the only. It doesn't fully capture it, but it's the only word that I've been introduced to that can capture the pain. I never felt no pain like that. He talked about not being able to sleep. Whatever I did those next couple of days, it wasn't sleep. I know that I was like, I laid down and I was semi-conscious, but it was the worst. I've to this moment, I've never felt no grief or any pain that was that devastating. I mean, it took my voice, it took everything. I didn't eat for 7 or 8 days. I didn't touch my wife, and our anniversary was coming up. I couldn't touch her for probably about 40 or 50 days. Wow. I mean, I just could not. The thought of pleasure was just, I couldn't. It was a horrific time. It destroyed my family because, death often, when you don't really have a strong foundation, right, while it may initially bring people together, what it'll eventually end up doing, if not properly, if grieving isn't done properly, what it'll eventually do is people can become selfish with their grief. So, well, he's my son. Well, he was my brother. Well, it was my cousin. Well, he was this, and he was my. And so, you have that. You have the guilt and the frustration and the blame and all of that stuff. And so, really, we never really fully recovered as a unit from that. And it's been 9 years. But the one thing that my brother said to me over the years, he always knew that this would happen to him. I never believed it. And he said that when it does, he said, I want you to take care of him. At first he had, just my oldest boy, or his oldest boy, Mario. He said, I want you to take care of Mario. And then when Marshawn came, he said, I want you to take, if this ever happened to me, I want you to take care of my kids. It's like, man, I'm going to take care of your kids. You don't ever have to worry about that. And so, but from that day to this day, I've taken him, I have custody of him, and I've been raising his boys as mine ever since.
Let me ask you both a question, because I both heard y'all say devastated, and you had rage and you couldn't sleep. So I can only imagine, like you said, some of the codes that we grew up under, not knowing the level of ignorance it was, but understanding that you want to retaliate, you want to do something. How did y'all deal with that? How did you deal with those emotions of retaliation and where did it lead you to?
So I would say for me, your initial reaction. Now I have 6 other brothers. My initial reaction, I was a minister then. I was, a full-fledged believer. I understand what my role is in the family. I'm the leader. I'm the one. And if I say go, right, we're going. Oh yeah. And there's no turning back. Right. Particularly in that state. Right. When everybody's emotions are on 10. Vulnerable, right. We can go. And in that moment, the code, forget the code, in addition to the code, that's my little brother. And his contribution to the family, he was he's the little brother, but he was the protector. He was the most fearless. And I know that if something like that would have happened to me, he would not put his head on a pillow until he avenged my death. But that's not what he asked me to do. So I had to wrestle with that. I had to be the logical one. I want to find out who this is, and we were able to find out within a day. I want to find out who this is, and I need to go bring it to him and his family, because that's the rage and the hatred that I felt in that moment. And I knew that I could do it. What I didn't know was 2 things. One, I'm gonna tell you what I knew and what else I knew and what I didn't know. Right. The thing that I didn't know is how I would live with it afterwards. I knew that I was mad enough and angry enough that I could do it. Man, that's good. But I did not know if I can live with it 5, 10, 20, 30 years after the fact, because a lot of the guys that I know who have committed murders can't really live with it. They have to stay high, they have to stay drunk, they have nightmares, and they don't share those things always. I didn't know how I would feel. But what I also knew is that if I leave, then who covers my other 2 sons? Who covers his sons? What happens to my wife? So if I go and do this, I'm not foolish enough to think that I'm going to do it and get away with it, or do it and not get killed in the process. So the thing that happened to me is that I got trapped because I had to be so rational, because everybody was ready and everybody was turned and everybody wanted to and I had to be the rational one. What I realized, and I didn't realize this until 2020, I never truly had my chance to let the grief irrationally leave. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let me be irrational and then kind of come to my senses naturally. I had to automatically beat a rock, get the funeral plan, get this, you know, get the money together. I had to do all of those things, and I didn't have time to truly process it in a way that may have been unnatural at first, but allowed me to get through it. So when George Floyd happened, I had so much rage and anger. That one of my really good friends, Chad Ivory, we got in a horrible argument. I hung up on him and was ready to never speak to him again. And he called me looking for what a lot of my friends normally ask for, some sound advice and some, give me something right now. But I was so angry. I had so much rage. And it hit me when I was watching George Floyd's funeral. And when I saw his casket, I laid on that floor and I boo-hoo cried like it was my brother again. And what I realized is that I still had this grieving part of me that wasn't really fully addressed, because I had to, in the moment, be the uncle. Everybody spoiling the kids. Let me, now I got to be dad. I can't just be the fun up. I got to be dad. So
just real quick before we jump over to Drew, how because I wanted to know, like, how did that affect you as a father? Because obviously that affects you in every area and every hat that you have to wear as a man, and you know, as a black man too. So, you know, and I'm glad you shared that, because that was a release for you. You know, and it's sad to say that you know, it was identified through another black man's death. You know, but that's what we're talking about. So how did you navigate as a father? Like, you know, I mean, that's heavy, brother. I couldn't even imagine.
Well, I would say it changed. My family dynamic changed now, because now we went from having 2 kids to 4 immediately. 2 to 4 immediately. And now
that's more food.
It's more food. It's more money. It's a different level of attention based on the needs of the kids and the ages. But then I think one of the crazy things is just that I didn't want them to see the level of pain that I was in.
My goodness.
It's foolish now. I didn't want them to see me have breakdowns.
Man.
Which is a bad habit. It's a bad practice. As men, we should allow our boys to feel that emotion. It's okay to cry. It's okay, you know, to feel overwhelmed in that moment, so that they can see that you bounce back and it's not the end of the world, or you don't have to pretend that you're not feeling whatever that feeling is.
That's good.
We just, as a society, we don't like to show pain. We can show anger. Anger is okay, but not pain. And I fell into that trap thinking that I had to be strong for the family, when in reality, man, I should have allowed them to see how you grieve, and it's okay to feel what you felt. So as a father, the first, you know, couple years it was just a major adjustment, because, you know, I want to raise them as my sons, but still respect who their father is and make sure that they know I'm just uncle. So, you know, just trying to find that sweet spot of loving them the same way, giving them the same affection, the same discipline as my other boys.
You're doing an amazing job.
But still, man, glory to God, and I appreciate it. But still trying to be uncle and preserve who their father is, and not romanticize some of his flaws or some of his errors, but not allow him to be demonized because of, you know, maybe what some of the perception of him.
That takes a lot of maturity, man. Man, hats off to you. I salute you.
Man, I appreciate you. You've been there the whole time, for sure.
And man, you've been there for me. So, man, Drew. So listening to his story, obviously you can relate to some of the, you know, some of the words he's mentioned, and some of the scenarios. And so how did it affect you as a father? How did you deal with the emotion of that rage and that, you know, retaliation mindset? Like, how did you navigate through that?
You know, the father is a father, a protector. He's strategic, because he knew that if I was here in Columbus, Ohio, when that all happened, I was going to jail. That was the reality. My retaliation was going to get done. Like you said, I was a minister at the time, had all of this going at the time, but you took my brother, so I was coming to take whoever I could. I didn't even have to get to you. If I can get to your kids, if I can get to your mama, your grandmama, I was going to get to somebody to make you feel what you made my mama feel. That's right. And it was a reason why I was in California. I ended up staying in California because I knew that coming back, I could not come back with everything that was going on in me and everything that I was also going to have to face when I got back. I knew I was going to have to eulogize this funeral. I knew I was going to have to deal with all the grieving people, and I knew that at the time, if I came back too soon, I was going to erupt. And so I called my mom. Mom, do you need me to come back right now? She said, no, son, do what you need to do for yourself. I got everybody here around me. I'm good. I know you need what you need. And so I ended up staying in California. I don't remember most of it. It was honestly a blur. And for the first, I want to say 6 to 8 months, I cried every day.
Man.
Every day. I woke up with the image of my brother laying there on the ground. I went to sleep with the image of my brother laying there on the ground. Every day. I could not control the cry. I say I've cried in the past 3 years more than I cried in my whole 39 years of life. Man. And I was becoming so angry. I had to end up seeking counsel. I got a therapist. Because I found myself getting snappy. I'm talking about the smallest thing. I can reach for something and miss it, and rage would just shoot through my body, and I snatch it up because I missed it. I'm talking about just small things that were just triggers. Every single thing was a trigger. And so one day I had got a therapist, and we were doing this he had me do this exercise. He like, Drew, I want you to close your eyes, because he's like, man, where is the rage coming from? Because, I disclosed with him, like, bro, like, I'm ready to tear through something. I was ready to not just get the person who did it. I was ready to get after anybody who bumped me the wrong way, looked at me the wrong way. Like, it was over. I was ready to put all of this force and muscle and action into action and smash whatever. And he said, close your eyes. He said, and go within you and find out where that pain is coming from. And I remember thinking in my head, like, man, this brother is tripping. Like, this is pointless. And so I remember closing my eyes, and I went within myself, and I was just like looking. And next thing I know, I burst out in tears. Man. And it was stemming from the sadness of me expecting and believing my brother would be here, fulfilling God's purpose with me. Man. He was my biggest fan, my biggest supporter. He will always say, Drew, I don't have a reason on why I haven't walked away from what I walked away from, because I watched my own brother do it. And so I just knew, with his story, with the wisdom that he had and the experience that he had from being out there for 20 plus years, I knew that he can reach a certain demographic that I couldn't. And he had all the intangibles in order to do it. And so my belief was that he was going to get there one day. And so I just knew that if I didn't get help, it was going to end bad. Regardless of how much faith I had in our Father, regardless of how much purpose I knew of myself in my life, I knew that when I start snapping at my own mom, I knew it was getting bad. We can snap at our kids sometimes, but we already do that. You get on our nerves enough. Man. But when I get to snapping at Mom Dukes, it was getting ugly. Man. And so this is how I know that our Father is strategic, because he put us in some positions that he want to check our parameter to see exactly where we are. Fast forward a year later, October 6th, my birthday, October 6th, 2021. Mom Dukes hit me like, hey son, we got to go to court. And she like, you know, we just going there. We just going there for just a quick arraignment. It's not going to be anything too deep because they're going to end up continuing it. And so we're just going there just to show face, X, Y, and Z. I'm just like, okay, cool. Because they already knew who did it the day of, you know. So get there, waiting. You know, we're trying to find out what floor that we going to. And that's why I said our Father is so strategic, because he knew that I needed the help before this day.
Yes.
So, you know, we get up finally on the 3rd floor. We finally find out what floor, you know, it's on. And walking down the hall, and my dad was there, mom, my grandma. And so, you know, we just walking down the hall, and we're getting closer to the door of where we should be going to. It's all there at the end of the hall. And I noticed a gentleman sitting on the bench. But my mind get to going, and I'm looking like, man, I know I only seen that face in the picture, but that's that nigga right there. And everything I've been planning to do once I saw him for that whole year was coming right back up. Right back to the forefront of me being able to exercise the sick thought of destroying this man with my bare hands like I know that I can. And I remember I walked past him and I'm staring him down. Bro, listen, you may have never seen me before, but I've seen you before, and my eyes is locked on him, no blinking, no turning away. It was to the point I could see him starting to get nervous because he didn't know who I was, but he knew something was about to happen. And I walked past him and I'm looking and I'm mugging. I come back, I'm looking and I'm mugging. He trying to put his face down. I'm just, everything is just coming to my mind. And I remember the Father simply saying to me like, son, are you literally about to throw everything away that you worked so hard for just to trade places with him? And
man,
at that moment, I knew the only thing that I can do to allow my life to continue on is to exercise forgiveness in my heart.
Man.
Because if I didn't, it was going to eventually get the best of me.
Jesus.
This is how deep pride is, man. It's ugly. That thing dealt with me so much that I had to leave there, go home, and just go to sleep, because pride was saying, bruh, why didn't you do what you was saying that you was going to do?
Talk about it.
Why didn't you destroy him like you knew you could?
Man.
Why didn't you demolish that man and take his life with your bare hands like you know that you could? And I'm sitting here warring back within myself, because back and forth with myself, because the Father on the other hand is saying, son, you know, well done. Good job. But that pride is eating me up. Because I'm just like, as a man, how I let this opportunity go when this man took my brother. And I wouldn't even be here today if I did.
As y'all both speak, I'm thinking about you guys were a little more up in age. So, I mean, I'm just thinking about these young guys, 12, 13, 19, 20,
25.
25.
That's still young.
With no sense of maturity to the level that you guys have that are on. And real quick, because man, I got to have y'all back on. You said you got to a place of forgiveness, and I just couldn't imagine, like, and I know y'all guys' character. Y'all both great men, but I know where you both come from and what's been embedded in us, good and bad.
Absolutely.
And so y'all both came to a place of forgiveness. I know Pastor Rick, you didn't get a chance to say it just yet, but you got to a place where you actually ministering the posture of forgiveness. And you just mentioned that you had our Father spoke to you and said, son, why throw it away to trade places? And you said, but he said it a little earlier about, how do you say it, Rick? You was like, why would I throw it all away or something like what I do after the fact?
After I do it, yeah.
After the fact.
Yeah.
So real quick, if both of y'all could just touch on how did y'all, you said obviously that was the start of your forgiveness, road of forgiveness.
Absolutely.
And obviously that empowered your ministry even more.
Absolutely.
Could y'all just touch on that just a little bit? We've got about 15 minutes, I believe. Touch on that just a little bit, both, and give some advice to younger folks or families that's been in y'all's position.
Absolutely. The beautiful thing is that when you're walking around with condemnation in your heart, you know, because we are one with the Father, you are condemning yourself. You can think that you're condemning another person, but truthfully, you're condemning yourself at the same time. And what I realized is that anger and hatred that I was walking around with in my heart was only eating me alive, not him. You know, and so I had to operate in forgiveness because I had to relinquish that pain. I had to relinquish that anger. I had to relinquish that rage. And the only way that I was going to be able to relinquish that is not because I got back at him. Because see, if I got back at him, that was just going to start another blaze. That was only going to ignite and initiate something else. You know, because if I got back at him, that may not even satisfy it. I may have wanted to go after his kids. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to kill the whole bloodline, you know, because that's what that rage and hatred and anger creates. You know, it makes you want to go get it all. You know, if my nephew got a hurt from it, I'm gonna make sure your son hurt from it. You know what I mean? If my mom hurt, I'm gonna make sure your mama feeling, you know, I was gonna go after it all. And that's why the Lord had to deal with me, because even though I've never killed a man before, I knew that I was fully capable of doing it.
Man, God,
because you touched something within me that I didn't even know lived in there.
Jesus.
You know, you took you created a pain within me that I didn't even know that I can feel. And if retaliation was the answer and it was the key, I'm not just retaliating on you. I'm retaliating on y'all all. I'm coming to get y'all all, you know? And so now being in a space of forgiveness, I realize that it's easy to love somebody who loves you. He said, what's harder and what's more challenging is to love thy enemy.
Wow.
He said, feed them and give them water. He said, it's like heaping coal on top of their head. And I said, man, Father, like, what is that? He said, he said, it's burning their minds up to fathom that you can forgive somebody that did you so much harm. And I realized that that's real authority. Not loving somebody who loves me, but loving somebody who hates me. Being able to love my enemy.
Wow.
Being able to express something beyond the norm and what's natural.
Come on, man.
I realized that that's what gives us authority.
Man.
That's what gives us power.
Come on, man.
Not being able to do the traditional.
Come on, man.
Not being able to do what everybody else is operating in, but operating beyond that. He said, if your enemy asks you to go a mile, he said, go another one. You know what I mean? Like we have the ability to go beyond what they even believe that we can do.
Yes, sir.
So when I operate in that forgiveness, I'm being just like our Father, because we've lied to our Father. We raped our Father. We stole from our Father. We tried to kill our Father. You know what I mean? We've tried to do all the things against our Father. He said at one point it was enmity in our minds between us and him. You know, so when I understood our authority and our real power, I realized that me operating in emotion and rage was for the weak.
That's
me
good,
operating in love and forgiveness was for the strong.
That's good, Drew.
And so I realized that the power had to come from within myself, not in my outward outbursts. You know, not in my response, like you said, to these young kings out here, you know, who are just operating out of raw emotion.
Come on.
That's only going to get you a temporary fix.
Come on.
But when you're able to operate in the authority you was really created to operate in as kings.
You talking.
You know, when you have that authority, like Pontius Pilate said to Jesus, don't you know that I'm a man under authority that can either crucify you or set you free?
That's what he said.
You know what I mean? Like he was operating in real authority.
Yes, sir.
So that's how I understand, like, yeah, I got the authority and the power to take your life.
Come on.
But what value does this bring this moment? I can
Come on.
forgive you
Come on.
and then go and talk about it
on.
and share the stories and then spray even more
on.
authority in the earth and
Come
the
on.
atmosphere. Dang, that man hurt you and your mama that
Come
bad,
on.
and then you turned around and became one of the most successful speakers in the world. That's a better story than, hey man, I felt you, bro. You know what I mean? Yeah, you only got 10 to 15 years, but at the end of the day, bruh, I respect you, and I'm sitting in a room full of other cellies. Nah,
No,
I'm
sir.
gonna get out here and I'm gonna be able to proclaim the good news.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean, to the world
Yes, sir.
as a free man.
Yes, sir.
Touching more souls,
Yes, sir.
saving more souls,
Yes, sir.
touching more lives,
Yes,
saving
sir.
more lives.
Yes,
So,
sir.
I understood that the authority and the power didn't come in me winging and waving my hammer.
Man.
The authority and the power understood that with this power, that I can either direct you or I can destroy you.
Man.
I'd rather direct you to the Father. I'd rather direct you to your purpose. I'd rather direct you to the value within you versus destroying you.
Man, that's good, Drew. That's good. Rick, can you piggyback off of that? That's so good. Thank you, brother.
It's so real. I think, for me as well,
Jesus.
I just, again, I know who I am. I know what I mean to my family, to my children. And when I say my children, I'm saying all of them. His sons who are my sons now, and my sons, my daughter, my wife, my nephews, my nieces. I know who I am in the community. I know who I am to the students that I've taught. I know who I am to the kids that I coach. I know that, when people see me or think of me, at least I hope, and what I've come to understand in my life is that I speak the name of Jesus. That's who I believe.
Definitely.
I'm a believer.
Definitely.
And so I know that I'm a representation of him. So it's very simple. It's as simple as what we call the Lord's Prayer. And forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. That's, even though his love is unconditional, that forgiveness is conditional.
My goodness.
I recognize that my forgiveness is conditional. And I don't know that there's anybody who needs more grace and forgiveness than me.
Come on.
And so because of that, it's very unhealthy for me to hold on to it.
Yes, sir.
A point that I want to make, though, is that sometimes even if you want to forgive, it may feel like a betrayal to the other people who will hold on to rage and hatred and anger for the rest of their life. Or am I betraying my brother by forgiving this dude and not hating him? And so once I was able to just power through that and say, no, I'm fully submitted to God, because I'm submitted to the Lord. I was actually teaching a sermon. I was preaching a sermon on forgiveness. And my sister, Danielle Bailey, asked me, we were talking about, she asked me, so what about your brother? What about the guy who killed your brother? Do you forgive him? And I had to say, well, in this moment, I don't think I do. She was like, so does that make you a hypocrite? I said, no. When I preach these sermons, a lot of times they're messages to me first.
Exactly.
But what did end up happening is the day after I preached the sermon was the first time I was able to say his name and pray a genuine prayer for him. Because my prayer for him is that that he feels terribly guilty for what he's done. So guilty, in fact, that he repents. So guilty that he teaches his sons that gun violence is never the way. So guilty, in fact, that he will not only give his life and teach his sons, but tell every other black man that he knows why gun violence is not the answer. And that's my genuine prayer. I pray that he's successful in life. I pray that he prospers, that he gets to enjoy his family. And I haven't seen him. He's still in jail. He'll be out within the next 2 years. And I don't know what I would do when I see him. I believe that I would either not acknowledge him because I don't know where his head is. But I don't really concern myself with that. But I'm not walking around with the anger. I really do wish him and his family the best. I don't have any hatred or ill feelings towards him, even though I'm very hurt and will always be hurt by what happened to my brother. And I just want us as a people, and I wish we had time to get into this.
I know.
I want us as a people, though, to be disgusted with all of it, with all of the promotion of gun violence and death in our society, because it's all satanic. I know people aren't going to like this, but hip hop is satanic. It's pushing death. We should not be entertained by the violence, the first 48. We should not, and I used to watch it faithfully. I can't watch the first 48. After my brother got killed, I could never watch the first 48. And I remember feeling convicted watching anyway, like, why am I being entertained by these people's pain and these people's death? And until we start to see things differently, until we start to, as my brother here is saying, until we start to take the authority back, take it, even with our young people, and that authority is, hey man, gangster is whack. Gangster is just trauma. We calling it gangster. That's trauma. The stuff that we are promoting as the right thing and as hood and like it's a beautiful thing, man, it's trauma and it's death and it's satanic. And we have to take that authority back and be against all gun violence. We got to teach our brothers to stand down, have a conversation, and not be corny with it, but really give them ways and solutions so that they will put these guns down, because that pain that all of us went through, all of us, my family, I remember walking to the funeral home to pick out his casket. When we got out the car, it was like simultaneously, my mom, my dad, my brother, and my sister, we all just bust out crying like we just couldn't walk in. It was so hard to walk in. Just walking in, knowing what we're walking into, picking a cat, like, we should not, that's too normal in our society. Man. And we should not have to do it. The brother, I'm sorry, last thing I want to say, the brother in Chicago, where the mother was getting beat up and the son came in, and I seen people celebrating the fact that the young man got off and all of that stuff, which I'm glad. I don't think the young man should have went to jail anyway. But in my mind, when I'm thinking about, because of the way I care about our people, I'm like, well, man, but there was nobody there to just de-escalate the situation, to say a couple jokes to make it calm down.
Man, say that.
That's sad to me. There was no way for that mother to just say, you know what, I'm gonna just leave and walk away. That's sad to me. The girlfriend that was there to bring him down, that's sad to me. I'm never gonna be happy about anybody being murdered, but particularly black men being murdered. And it keeps happening on such a regular basis, and nobody cares unless a cop does it. We gotta get better. And start holding ourselves accountable to the same accountability, being just as triggered by anybody's death, by anybody's murder. We got to stop putting our families through this and break this cycle, because too many of our boys are growing up without fathers, and they're just promoting the same thing. They're reliving that same thing. So that rage that you feel, that anger that I feel, minus the Holy Spirit, minus strong men to teach us differently, then I'm going to actually reciprocate it now. I'm going to actually go out and shoot and kill and argue, because what you're seeing is these young men becoming quote unquote masculine versions of their single mothers. So if you see the single mom arguing, you see or whoever, or what you say, I pull up, you see that, then as become a man, that turns into, I'm about to shoot. We gotta dead all of it. We gotta have these uncomfortable conversations where you get offended and I get offended, but ultimately we get to a solution, because, man, nobody is valuing black life. Nobody.
Man. I mean, I wish we had we got to have y'all back on, because there's so much I wanted to tap in with both of y'all, but I appreciate everything that y'all shared. I mean, very well spoken from the heart. And I know we touched. We touched lives.
Nipped it. All we did was just nip, though, because there's so much more.
I know.
But thank you for having us, man. Thank you.
I appreciate y'all for sharing, man, being transparent. Y'all always been a blessing to my life. Again, like I said in the beginning, someone I can lean on, is talk to, and pour into my life. So we need more of this. We need more of it. 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 Can't stress it enough. Thank you guys, man, for coming, man. And unfortunately, we're out of time. I got to have y'all back on.
For sure.
Got to. Come on, man. This show some love, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Come on. Sir. Come on, Big Rick. I know. Come on, big dog.
We can come on this way, man, because I'm concerned about that.
Man, thank y'all, man. I appreciate y'all so much.